In our gospel story today, Jesus and his disciples are walking along and they come upon a blind man. The blind man does not ask for help. The disciples simply start to use a questioning technique of Jesus about this blind man. Whose fault is it that he's blind? They ask. And Jesus says it's no one's fault. This man is blind so that God's glory may be revealed. And then Jesus does an incredible thing. He spits, and he takes his spit, and he mixes it with dirt, and he places it upon the eyes of the blind man. And he tells the blind man, "Go and wash." Unfortunately, in our own lives, what we often see is the smudging and the marks that others have. And we fail to see what it is we don't see. Jesus is using an example. And what is amazing is that Jesus crosses over social boundaries. Jesus violates someone's space. Jesus gets up close and personal by literally using his spit. Can you imagine in our day today if someone spits on us? We're doing everything we can to avoid the fluids of other people, literally in an era where we are afraid of a virus going from one person to the next. And Jesus spits and mixes it with dirt and touches a man. It's not yet that the man sees, however. And so this man is touched by Jesus, but his sight is not yet restored. That's the first thing that I ponder about, is how many of us absolutely have been touched by Jesus in an up close and personal way. And yet we still have trouble with our own sight, with what we see. In our own lives, it is easy to have faith, to say prayers, but it is equally as easy to lose sight of what matters, to lose sight of what was. And as we have lost sight of the important things, it is easy to complain. It is easy to say, look at pastor's face, how dirty it is. And yet all of us bear some dirt. All of us have limited vision. You know, in our own lives, even before this coronavirus outbreak and all of the things that we do, all of us have healing to do. All of us have had a life that has included some pain and some trauma. And yet when we experience that healing, it is oftentimes difficult to talk about it. In our story, the blind man was sent to the pool of Siloam, and he was asked to go and wash, to clean himself, to get rid of the dirt. And it was then that his vision was restored. People questioned him. They wanted to know who, what, why, how, and in fact, how intimidating it must have been. For he was outcast and could not see, and now his sight is restored, and he knows it happened through the touch of Jesus. And now he is going to be pressed, and it is now that this man's bravery, his courage, steps forth as he says exactly what happened. He does not dismiss Jesus. He does not throw out his real life experience. He speaks of what truly happened. He speaks of how his vision was restored with no fear. I can only imagine what it must have been like to have been an outcast, to have been totally dependent upon all others, and then to finally see and have his eyes open and to be able to do for himself what he was once dependent upon everyone else for. And now he runs the risk of being cast out yet again, because what has happened goes against popular belief, popular culture. Jesus continues to try to open our eyes today as we too are invited to wash in the waters of baptism, to see life, to heal, to experience the world, knowing that we have been touched, but also knowing that perhaps washing in the waters of baptism allows us to see things in a new way. But this takes risk. If you're a regular here at Zion, of course you've heard me talk about going to counseling, and I have been seeing a counselor for some time and in the process doing some healing. And a couple of weeks ago, the counselor asked me to shut my eyes as he prayed a healing prayer and restoration. And after the prayer was over, he asked me, "What did you see? Did you see anything?" And at that moment, I had to take a risk, because what I saw was something I'd never seen before. It's nothing I had experienced. As I was closing my eyes and he was praying for me, the image of Christ came into focus in my mind. And that image was just the head. It was just like a chalk pencil drawing of a face of Jesus, and it rested upon my shoulder. I struggled with that image because I was afraid. I'd never experienced something exactly like that, but it was real. It happened. And the very next Sunday, I felt that pressing upon me to preach about it and share it, and I did not. And so today I share it. You know, we are all asked to share, how do we see Jesus in our world around us today? And perhaps not only once, but we are asked to share that more than once. It was 5 days later when my wife and we went to a concert. It was called Casting Crowns. And the lead singer spoke of a time in his life when he couldn't speak, he couldn't sing, and the only thing he could do was draw. And so for a couple of songs, he started to draw a picture. And as he was drawing this picture in the concert, it started to take shape in image. And I felt myself hyperventilating. I felt myself panicking because slowly the image started to take shape. And as the image started to take shape, it was amazing what it was. It was the very image I had seen in counseling on the prior Monday. And now it is Friday, and that image fully took shape. I was so shocked. That image that he was drawing didn't stay there. He continued to work on it, and it progressed into something else. But I think today we are living in a world where we are encouraged to share some deep and intimate faith stories with those who are gathered around us. I ask all of you to look upon your lives and see where Jesus has touched you, but then invited you to go and wash and clear your vision and share what it is that you have seen. I have been afraid to share those stories for a long time, for weeks. I shared it with my wife the night of the concert. I shared it with staff, and today I share it with you. And I want to encourage you to know that we are living in a world today where we have been touched by Jesus. And there is always a time between the dirt on our face and the waters that wash that away. But when it does, we are asked to be courageous and share those stories with others. Amen. We turn